Hi, everyone. Welcome back to God's Whispers, a place where we take the time to pause and reflect on the word of the Lord. Here's probably a loaded question for you. Would you recognize Jesus if he was right there next to you? In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, verses 13 through 35, there were two disciples that were walking with him, talking to him, listening to him, and they didn't even know it. It was the same day as the resurrection. Jerusalem was very tense, obviously. People were confused, sad, feelings of heaviness. And two disciples were leaving the city, walking about 7 miles to a village called Emmaus. That's important because culturally, if they're leaving Jerusalem right now, it's like saying, we're done. It's over with. Let's listen. That very day, the first day of the week, two of Jesus' disciples were going to a village 7 miles from Jerusalem called Emmaus, and they were conversing about all the things that had occurred. And it had happened that while they were conversing and debating, Jesus himself drew near and walked with them. But their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing as you walk along?" They stopped, looking downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, said to him in reply, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who doesn't know of the things that have taken place in these days?" He replied to them, "What sort of things?" They said to him, "The things that happened to Jesus of Nazarene, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word, before God and all the people. How our chief priests and rulers both handed him over to a sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem Israel. And besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since this took place. Some women from our group, however, have astounded us. They were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came back and reported that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who announced that he was alive. Then some of those with us went to the tomb and found things just as the woman had described, but him they did not see. And he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are! How slow of heart to believe that all the prophets spoke. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them what referred to him in all the scriptures. As they approached the village to which they were going, he gave the impression that he was going on farther, but they urged him, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening and the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them, and it happened that, while he was with them at table, he took bread, said the blessing, broke it, and gave it to them. With that, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, but he vanished from their sight. Then they said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" So they set out at once and returned to Jerusalem, where they found gathered together the 11 and those with them who were saying, "The Lord has truly been raised and has appeared to Simon." Then the two recounted what had taken place on the way and how he made it known to them in the breaking of the bread. That must have been completely life-changing. The scriptures say that their eyes kept him from recognizing him, not because he changed, but because their expectations did. In the 1st-century Jewish belief, the Messiah was expected to conquer, not to suffer. So even though Jesus was right there, he didn't fit what they thought God would do. And honestly, I probably would be the same way. Jesus started explaining scripture to them, connecting everything. Moses, the prophets, all pointing to him. And they still didn't see it. But when they sat down and he broke bread, that's when their eyes were opened. So you may be thinking, why at that moment? Because breaking bread wasn't just a meal. It was familiar, it was personal, and it was recognizable. And then they realized that he was there the whole time. And just as quickly as they understood that, he disappeared. So I think how we can apply it to us is that we aren't alone. We're never alone. How many times in your life has God been present, but not the way that you expected it? Sometimes we miss him, not because he's absent, but because we might be looking for something else. So journal prompts that would go along with this passage would be, where in your life might God be present, but not in the way that you expected it? And have you ever felt like something was over, only to realize later that God was still working? And then when have you experienced that breaking bread moment when suddenly things become clear? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Share it with a friend and have a discussion. But don't forget to subscribe so you can continue to hear God's whispers.